Right, Freddie. Well, first of all, thank you for being part of Pulso Sports here today. We wanted to just kind of talk to you about the offense and a design that you guys in this 2025 campaign kind of brought out uh, to, in one way or another, maybe make it easier for you guys to add attackers and numbers forward. In our opinion, is that a fair assessment of the changes or wrinkles that you guys added to the formation and your attack this season?
I think our what we want to do as a collective is obviously improve on the attacking. Preki has done a really good job with the group in that aspect. Some of the things that you've seen in a way is continuous work with our pivots and how important they are in progressing the ball into the most important parts that we value, which meaning between the lines in the 8, like in those pocket areas that people call half spaces or between the lines. And then from there, incorporating with longer stretches of possession, incorporating where we can release. And I think you've seen this develop into where we're starting to see Obed now really arriving, and you saw the example of the recently him giving the assist. So we're almost trying to incorporate and evolve into where we're adding 6 players between the lines in front of the opponent's last line of defense. And I think we've developed in that, and we're developing. Are we a done product? No, it takes work and work and work. But that's the biggest thing that we wanted to do based off of last year is get more players attacking the back line. Then from there, breaking that back line, getting behind that back line, and then incorporating because of now having more players there that we could arrive with more numbers in the box for service.
When we talk about Jesus Ferreira and him coming in, the narrative was mainly that he was the guy that was essentially going to be able to play with or instead of Jordan Morris in the need of it. Brian Spencer just kind of shared with us, or he did share with us, that unfortunately Jordan was going to be out for about 6 weeks or more. When it comes to Ferreira, how difficult is it to maybe mold him to a player that gravitates or tends to gravitate maybe more as a false 9, if you will, and get him to do some of the things that you need him to do for your system specifically?
Yeah, I think this is more my opinion, so I'm not necessarily speaking on about everyone else, but I think Jesus Ferreira was obviously someone who had played the 9, but it's also someone that is very versatile and has some very, very, very good qualities. What are those qualities, in my opinion, is the receiving between the lines, the playing other team members into play, the giving the final pass, like you see the ball into Kalani, right? And so within us as a system, we were fortunate enough to get a player of that caliber that if we need him as a 9, he can be the 9. If we need him, say we're playing in the front 2, he could be that withdrawn guy. Or in our case with pocket guys, we can put him between the lines because he's someone that has the technical ability, the awareness to receive there, and then playing the ball at any given time. The example was the Paul Rothrock goal where he runs across the other side from the right pocket, runs and then plays it across to Paul Rothrock. So those are all strengths that we've seen from him, and I think our job is to keep pushing his strengths, but also our other part is to help him develop on some things. And sometimes when we ask him to be a 9, there may be some different things that we ask him to do. That's the attacking side. On the defensive side, I think he's a pretty good defender. He helps the team. He sacrifices the team. He's really intelligent. I know a lot of people don't look at that when you talk about an attacker because you just want goals and assists and plays that lift the spirits of the fans. But he's also a very, very good team player. And I think at 23, 24 years old, he's still going to continue to develop. And one place that we'd like him to develop is just be more aggressive to goal. Like him individually, at times when he has the opportunity to shoot. Because I think sometimes he feels that he wants to be a provider all the time. So how can we help him find that balance?
So although he has been very successful in those pockets behind the 9 and you guys are aware of his strengths, there's still a commitment and a confidence that he could play as a 9 need be for this squad.
Yeah, for sure. He's done it for many years. The thing is, it's also like when you get into a season, you always have this projection of what a lineup's going to look like, but the reality is you get some injuries, you get some international call, whatever it may be that doesn't allow you to have your full squad. Then when you think you have your full squad, something else may happen that changes plans. So, Schmetz's job is always with our advice and our input and opinions is, well, we got to try to put the best team with the best players at that moment and bring out their strengths. So sometimes at that moment it might be like, for example, Jordan's not out. It might not always be Jesus is a 9 in that moment. Maybe it's Moose is the 9 and Jesus is a provider in there. Why? Because the team just clicked better that game. Why? Because the opponent may need more verticality and a little bit more space in between the lines, or because Moose scored 3 goals in a row. Like there's so many scenarios, and but we're fortunate enough, like I said, that we can put him in there. But it's not always easy to, okay, you're gonna play here and then here this game, because you also need some sort of consistency. But sometimes throughout these tough spells of seasons of like injuries and congestion, it's hard to give that consistency of, here you go, 9 games, you're gonna play the number 9. It's like we're always just trying to put the best team out there for that moment and see what we can get out of it.
One player that has looked particularly dangerous and one that you guys have had, but this year he's actually healthy, is Pedro de La Vega.
Yeah.
Just your take on what he's been able to provide and what you've seen from him this year.
I think he's picking moments. He's being a little more disciplined in his positioning. And when you say discipline, some people think, oh, that's the positive, because I think sometimes he's too eager. He wants to help the team so much. Busca el balón, he wants to go to goal, and that's not a fault. But there's moments that, for the collective, be a little more disciplined. You may not get the ball 10 times like you want it. You may get it 6 times, but those 6 times you're going to be in a better position to actually affect and hurt the opponent, as opposed to just getting it for touching the ball's sake. So I think he's grown in that department. I think you're starting to see better choices of his shooting and crossing. If you go back to last year, he'd get to really good positions and maybe he wasn't able to. He would always, a lot of times, it'd get blocked. And now you're starting to start seeing him study the opponent, the angle that they approach, and starting to pick out open men, players, teammates. So that's a part that I think he can continue to grow at, because the final pass is hard. Scoring is the hardest thing in the game, but you need a good final pass. And I thought from last year to this year, that's where I've seen the most growth. Like, final decisions are getting better.
As we talk about talented players, and that seems to be a common denominator in this group of players, Ryan Kent, we love to hear from you. In what I'm sure the audience wants to hear is that insight on what you've seen from Ryan Kent. And, right now you guys are playing with wingbacks, and that might be a position that he could be able to do. But is that where you think he'd be the most successful for this team?
No, I think his biggest, if we played in a line of 5, then one of the wingers potentially, like one of the front 3, and he can stay wide. Mm-hmm. That takes a different relationship to what you do if you put him wide and what that does to a wingback. Or in a line of 4, him being a winger, that's, I think, his natural and preferred position. But what he brings, when you ask me, professionalism. He has this, I've seen like on 2 or 3 occasions at training where he stands a player up, and his explosiveness to shake that player, it's at another level. So our job is, again, even though you want to give him a lot of playing minutes, he's an exciting player, you also don't want to put him in if he's not 100% ready to be durable with those minutes, because you don't want to risk injury. Then you force a player in and then they're out for 4 months, it doesn't help. So we're bringing him along slowly, intelligently, so when we get him, we get the best of him. And when we get him, it's for a long time. It isn't for just an appearance and then something happens and then fans are like, what the heck, So, but he maturity, professionalism, and his 1v1 ability. And I don't know if you've seen some of the shooting that we're doing.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's right and left foot, power, accuracy. I think the fans are going to be, pretty excited when he starts getting like consistent minutes, and he's going to be a player that the fans like and excited to watch.
And first of all, I appreciate your time. I'm going to try to wrap up here. De Rosario is a guy that is at Tacoma Defiance. He's been practicing with you guys. Certainly an option for you guys. What have you seen out of him? And how it's hard sometimes to figure out how what you do at the Tacoma Defiance level is going to reflect on MLS. What have you seen from him?
Absolutely. That's a great, it is hard to reflect. So it's interesting you bring that up, because I tell him yesterday, and this happens to every player, right? Like, super excited. He comes to training, he scores a goal, he presses on a press where he steals a ball, almost scores a goal. We get stuck on the team that he was on gets stuck low block, they're getting pressed, He does just the natural inside or outside run. That allows the team to play it up the field. He holds it, connects, they get an attack. And I told him this morning, I go, you got to, this is the one thing I'm going to tell you that I think is really important. Get the training session from John or Rodrigo from yesterday. And every time you're having a bad day or any time you are confused at why you're not playing, go to that one, because that one showed everything you're supposed to do. And you're excited right now because it's your first time here. But that's a player that showed me yesterday that you can play at this, because you win against Kim Key, because you win against Yamar, you win. So you showed us there. 10 goals and all that about MLS next, great. That's awesome for you individually. But yesterday you showed. So if there's any doubt, every time there's doubt, and every time maybe you think you can slack off, and someone gets on you as a coaching staff, and hey, you're not training well, that's your reference of how you trained yesterday. Save that one for the rest of your career, because he came and almost didn't do anything wrong. And why? Because he's motivated right now. He's got to keep that motivation, and he's going to prove to people that he belongs here.
And last one here, San Luis, a team that's not afraid to give the ball. They're second in last possession in the league. They play deep, but they could also, looking for the secondary balls can make some struggles offensively. How do you break them down? What are your thoughts on San Luis?
Patience, positioning, discipline in our positioning, moving the ball. When we're in our good positioning, the pivot work, guys are really disciplined in that positioning. It shortens distances, and so against a team that is really compact, you can really speed up the game. The further and stretch that we are, passes are longer, and it allows them minimal work. But if we can keep discipline, keep sharp work, quick combination, third man to get behind, third man to get behind, third man to get behind, then I think we can cause them some issues. But what you said where their strengths are, second balls, they're really good at it. And I would also argue we got to be ready for a team that maybe feels good after the LAFC game. They went down a man and actually played. So you never know. Maybe the coaching is like, hey, we did well in the second half, and they're motivated, and they all of a sudden want the ball too. So games change, tactics change, but what we know is there's have important players, set pieces. We know they like a direct ball and pick up seconds and can transition quick. That we'll be ready for. And then we knew we struggled with breaking on the low block. We had 60-some percent possession last time against them. And because we get, the desesperas, you get a little bit like, oh man, we want to score, and then you start losing a little bit of discipline. We can't do that. We got to make sure that we're disciplined and we're aggressive with the ball. It's not possession for possession's sake. It's hurting them. It's quick combination so they can't get close to you, so they can't react. And I think we'll be all right. The guys had a really good session yesterday. Worked over some defensive tactics today, but I think it'll be a tough game, like every game is. We're at home. We're going to win. That's our job, is to try to win the home games, especially.
Thank you for